At 83, Paul is sharing confessions he once kept close. He is revealing the 7 singers he secretly wanted to be. This is not about musical influences or simple admiration. This is a deeper, more personal longing. It is about the unique voices that made young Paul think, "I wish that was me." These are the artists who possessed a magical sound, a sound he felt he could never quite replicate in his own work. The first name on his list might shock you. Paul confesses he secretly wanted to be Elvis Presley. Before the Beatles were famous, they were just fans. They love American rock and roll. And Elvis was the undisputed king of it all. He had that raw, powerful voice and incredible stage presence. Paul saw Elvis as the ultimate rock star. He had the look, the sound, and the attitude. When Paul first heard Heartbreak Hotel, it changed everything for him. He didn't just want to play music like Elvis. He deeply wished he could be the one singing with that much raw passion and charisma. The second confession is another giant of music. Paul admits he secretly wanted to be Little Richard. This is about pure, unadulterated energy. Little Richard's voice was a thrilling, screaming powerhouse. It was a sound full of joy and wild abandon that captivated Paul. Paul tried to channel this energy himself. He sang Long Tall Sally, trying to match that fierce power. But he always knew it was Richard's unique, explosive gift. He secretly wished he could unleash that kind of vocal volcano. He wanted to have that unstoppable force in his own throat. The third name takes us into the world of soul. Paul confesses a deep desire to be the great Motown singer, Smokey Robinson. Smokey's voice was not about power or screaming. It was the opposite. It was smooth, gentle, and incredibly beautiful. It was like liquid honey pouring from the speakers. For Paul, a master of melody, Smokey represented vocal perfection. He could hit the most delicate falsetto notes with ease. His voice was effortlessly romantic and sweet. Paul wished he could sing with that same soft, angelic purity. He wanted that smooth, soulful elegance in his own singing. The fourth singer is a true legend of the blues. Paul reveals he secretly wanted to be Howlin' Wolf. This choice is about raw, primal emotion. Howlin' Wolf's voice was not pretty or smooth. It was a gritty, thunderous, and ancient sound. It felt like it came straight from the Mississippi Delta. Paul was mesmerized by this raw power. Howlin' Wolf's voice was a force of nature. It was full of pain, strength, and a deep, haunting truth. Paul, with his more melodic style, secretly coveted that raw, untamed growl. He wished he could channel that much raw, emotional depth into a single note. So we have the first 4. The king, the high priest of rock and roll, the soul poet, and the blues titan. This list shows the incredible range of Paul's own musical soul. He admired power, grace, wild energy, and raw emotion. These voices shaped his dreams as a young man in Liverpool. But the list is not complete. 3 more incredible singers remain. Their names are just as surprising and meaningful. They complete the picture of Paul McCartney's secret musical desires. Stay with us to discover the final 3 legends he wished he could become. Welcome back. We are exploring Paul McCartney's deepest musical confessions. We have heard 4 names he secretly wished to be: Elvis, Little Richard, Smokey Robinson, and Howlin' Wolf. These voices represent different pillars of American music. They also show the diverse appetite of Paul's own talent. Now we move to the 5th singer on his list. Paul confesses he secretly wanted to be Carl Perkins. While Elvis was the king, Carl Perkins was the king of rockabilly. He was a master songwriter and guitarist. Songs like Blue Suede Shoes were foundational for the Beatles. They played them constantly in their early days. Paul admired Carl's complete package. He was a brilliant songwriter, a fantastic guitarist, and had a great, distinctive voice. He wasn't just a performer. He was a true musician's musician. Paul secretly wanted that specific rock and roll pioneer identity. He wanted to be a cornerstone of the genre itself. The 6th name might be the most unexpected. Paul reveals he secretly wanted to be Bob Dylan. This is not about the voice in a traditional melodic sense. Dylan's voice was often described as nasal and unconventional. But that was the very point of his magic. It was a voice of pure poetry and storytelling. Paul was utterly captivated by Dylan's lyrical genius. The way Dylan painted pictures with words was revolutionary. Paul secretly wished he could be that kind of visionary poet. He wanted his words to carry the same intellectual weight and social commentary. He desired the mind of a lyrical troubadour. This confession shows Paul's growth as an artist. After fame, he sought deeper meaning in his music. Dylan showed him a new path. It led to more introspective songs like Yesterday and Eleanor Rigby. Paul's desire to be Dylan was a desire for a different kind of power. The power of the written word. Finally, we arrive at the seventh and last singer. Paul confesses he secretly wanted to be John Lennon. This is perhaps the most poignant and powerful confession of all. It is not about a famous influence. It is about his closest friend, his songwriting partner, and his greatest rival. Paul admits he was in awe of John's raw, honest rock and roll voice. John could sound incredibly vulnerable in one song and fiercely aggressive in the next. He had a raw, unfiltered honesty that Paul sometimes felt he lacked. Paul secretly wished for that specific, cutting rock and roll edge. This desire speaks to the very heart of their partnership. They pushed each other to be better. They complemented each other's weaknesses with their own strengths. Paul's confession shows a lifelong admiration and a deep brotherly love. It completes a list built on respect for his musical other half. So, there you have it. The 7 singers Paul McCartney secretly wanted to be. Elvis Presley, Little Richard, Smokey Robinson, Howlin' Wolf, Carl Perkins, Bob Dylan, and John Lennon. This list is a map of modern music. It is also a map of Paul's own artistic soul. He never wanted to be just one type of singer. He wanted the power of a king, the energy of a pioneer, the smoothness of soul, the grit of the blues, the skill of a rockabilly master, the mind of a poet, and the honest edge of his best friend. In the end, by admiring them all, he became the one thing no one else could be. He became Paul McCartney. Thank you for listening. We have now heard all 7 names. We know the singers Paul McCartney secretly wished to be. But this list is so much more than just a collection of famous voices. It is a secret key. It unlocks a deeper understanding of the man himself. It reveals the internal chorus of influences that shaped one of the most iconic sounds in history. Think about this list not as 7 separate artists. Instead, see them as the different parts of Paul's own musical personality. Each one represents a specific quality he heard and admired. A piece of a puzzle he was trying to solve within himself. He was not trying to copy them. He was trying to absorb their essence into his own artistic DNA. Let's start with the rock and roll foundation. Elvis Presley, Little Richard, and Carl Perkins. This is the holy trinity of Paul's early energy. From Elvis, he wanted the swagger and the magnetic charisma. The ability to command a room with just a look and a snarl. It was about the aura of the king. From Little Richard, he wanted the unbridled, explosive power. The sheer, screaming joy of letting go completely. Paul's voice could be sweet, but he craved that raw, untamed wildness. He wanted to access that volcanic energy that made audiences feel pure, electric excitement. From Carl Perkins, he wanted the craftsman's touch. Perkins was a brilliant songwriter and a phenomenal guitarist. Paul saw in him the complete rock and roll musician. He secretly wished for that specific, grounded genius. The ability to be the architect of a song from the first chord to the final vocal. Now let's consider the soul and the grit. Smokey Robinson and Howlin' Wolf. These two seem like polar opposites.